active in the community with an organization called Hike It Baby, which was an organization that's all about getting families outside and active on trails. And through that, I helped develop a family trail guide. So just kind of helped put together a lot of information on our local trails, took pictures, wrote descriptions, and have been involved in various groups that are helping people get out on trails and out hiking. But beyond hiking, I love paddling and biking. So just all sorts of different means of people getting outside and enjoying our community. And for my real job, I do marketing and communications. So I work on websites and social media and event planning. So just helping get the word out about, one, the trails we do have, and then hopefully seeing some more development in our area too that we can get the word out about.
Jill, were you involved with the Ewing Young Trail cleanup project?
Yes, I was. Yeah, me and my 3 boys were out there.
Yeah, I thought I remembered you from that. Thank you.
Yep.
Michelle Colvin, are you present?
Yes, I am. My camera's not working, sorry.
Well,
okay, so you guys are amazing. This is going to be so much fun. So I love trail running, and I know that we don't need to go to Forest Park to do all of that. I'm a Soul Sisters run coach, and I would love to see the trails grow around here. And I love your idea of connecting the trails, Marty, with Chehalem in the mountains. And I've been here for 4 years, and I'm just really excited to work with you guys.
Great. It looks like I skipped over Eric Chen. Are you with us?
Erin Chen. Yeah.
Erin, I'm sorry.
Hi. Yeah. So I'm new to the area. I've been in Dundee about a year. And my interest in the committee is mostly, you know, my father was a park ranger when I was a kid. And so one of my earliest memories was him carrying me on his shoulders as we went on trail hikes and educating people. I'm currently a stay-at-home mom. I've got 2 daughters. But in my previous life, I was a community organizer organizing children, youth, and families activities. So I've taken middle schoolers out on backpacking trips in a downpour, and I've just really seen how access to the outdoors can really change a youth's outlook, and how it can change their health, and how it can just be completely transformative. So that's something that I believe in and want to help increase access to.
Thank you, Erin. I see Quentin Comas on here. Is Quentin with us?
I am. Hi, everybody. My name is Quentin Comas. Everybody calls me Q. Super easy to spell that way. I use the pronouns he, him, his, and I am a junior at Oregon State University in Bend, majoring in natural resources education. In Newburgh, before I graduated high school, I worked with Pete there in the district office at Chehalem Valley Watershed Project, which was a student-run organization throughout the high school. We did a lot of projects with CPRD. One that you might have seen is we installed some trail signage along the Getman Trail over at the golf course. Super cool. I'm also trained in basic trail maintenance with the Pacific Crest Trail Association, and I work a lot. I have a nonprofit at Mount St. Helens in Washington, doing trail work and youth programs up there. So I'm super excited to work with like-minded folks with lots of experience and see what incredible trails we can have in the Newburgh Dundee area.
Thanks, Quentin. I just hiked the trail around the golf course this weekend, the Getman Loop, and those signs are still in amazing condition. So, but you'd appreciate that. And we appreciate all the volunteer work you've done for the district. And I understand that Matt is not with us. Is that correct? Because he's out working on trails. Is that...
Matt Dolphin had a previous commitment working on trails with another group, but he will be here at the next one, he hopes.
Yeah, if you have to miss a meeting, working on trails is a pretty good excuse. So, is Christina with us this evening?
Yes, I am.
Hi.
Hi. I don't have any of your guys' credentials, but
Well, yeah.
I'm like sitting here. Right. Yeah, it's true. I grew up in actually up in the Malala Hills. So we did a lot with the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, cleaning up the mountains and roaming up and down the hills. That's my experience. I now have my own flock, 5 children, who I take out on our trails up here in Dundee. And I absolutely love it. I want to see more of it. I think that nature needs to be captured, protected, and open for people to be able to experience it, especially children and people who need to get their exercise.
Very
So,
good.
I've been here for 2 years, 2.5 years, actually.
All right. Well, thank you for volunteering.
Thank you.
Alan Holstein. Hope I pronounced that right.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, yeah, Alan Holstein, that's right. Just listening to the other speakers, I was reflecting, my father was a Sierra Clubber and drugged me around more trails than I can tell you about, how influential it was in my life. Moving forward, I was co-coach with Pete Siderius in middle school football. Hi, Pete.
How you doing?
Good. So we had fun, and a long-time user of CPRD facilities, including the pool and kayak launch. Moving forward, I've been involved in the wine business in Dundee for 40 years, believe it or not, and was involved in getting a bike trail up 9th Street, Warden Hill Road, which was an act of God, but got me interested in. But as a member of the wine business, I've long felt like, what's the overlap between the wine business and the locals? And I felt like the wine business has an interest in having something here to do besides drink and eat. And trails is an obvious deal, and I have connections in the wine business. I've recently retired and don't know how to translate that positive energy into actions committee, but you don't show up, you can't contribute, right?
That's right. Well, hopefully we'll find something for you to keep you productive here. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Lisa Jackson.
Lisa Jackson is excused this evening, but hopes to join us at the next meeting.
Okay. Kimberly Lanter, excuse me.
Kimberly is absent.
All right. Lacey Mendoza.
Hi, I'm Lacey Mendoza. My camera's not working also, but so glad to be here. I've been in Newburgh for 2 years now. I'm originally from Tri-Cities, Washington. I did a lot of work with the Friends of Badger Mountain and a lot of the Candy Mountain connecting projects. I was a project manager for 10 years at Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, working in material sciences. And I just have a lot of interest in the community in Newburgh and gaining just new people, meeting new people in Newburgh and being part of this community. And I have a love for the Getman Trail. I walk that one almost every day.
Excellent. Bob Olson.
Yeah, I'm Bob Olson. I've lived in Newburgh for about 3 years, and I'm semi-retired as a consultant for outdoor conservation organizations. And I'm just very interested in supporting this effort and expanding it, especially supportive of improving the access to pathways for bicycles and seeing what we can do to serve more people in our community, because there's a lot of potential here, and this seems to be a good vehicle, this committee, for realizing some of that.
All right, thank you. Aaron Robinson.
You're on, Aaron. I think that's Kim.
Okay.
Aaron's out there somewhere.
We'll give Aaron a second to speak up, and if not, we'll move on. You there, Aaron? All right, how about Dustin Wolf?
Dustin Wolf is absent.
All right, well, maybe something from Jim McMaster, my co-liaison.
And I'm guessing that may be Kimberly Lanier who
Great.
understands her.
Hi. Yes. That's my
Oh,
son
Kimberly.
name. Hi. Sorry I'm
Hi.
late.
Well, do you want to?
So do you want me to speak right now or Ms. Spencer speak or?
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I retired from the Park District after 38 years of supervising the Parks Department 2 years ago. And then I was reelected to the board this last spring. With that said, though, my passion's always been, from a hobby standpoint, is biking and hiking. And I'm really interested in improving the livability even more of the Newburgh, Dundee, Chehalem Park and Recreation District area with providing biking and trails throughout our community. I think that will help people stay here. Someone talked about earlier going to Washington Park or Forest Park to be able to hike. I'd like to see that happen here. And so I think we've got some great opportunities, and I went through people's resumes, and there's a great amount of talent with the folks that have opted to volunteer to do this. So I'm pleased to be a part of it.
Thank you, Jim. Aaron, did you still want to? I'm sorry if we cut you off. Do you still have something to say? Okay.
Was that Dustin? Oh, okay. Then back to Kimberly Lanier.
Did you just want me to talk about myself or?
Yeah, please.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Let's see. I've lived in Newburgh for over 25 years now, and have been actively involved supporting the library mostly, but I find myself walking so much and wanting to hike, and I always have to leave Newburgh. So I always wanted to, help support in that way. And I have 2 kids that just graduated from high school. So, they've biked around, but we haven't really been able to hike. And so that's why I just want to be involved in such a great project for the community.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we take nominations from the group for what's the appropriate mechanism for the group to select a leader and a minute taker?
That would be fine. You can do that.
Let's make it easy, or maybe it'll be easy. Do we have? Okay. I'm sorry, and who was this?
I'm sorry, it's Erin Robinson. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you, Erin.
Okay, I was trying to speak. I had to switch computers, and I was saying the most wonderful things.
We got all warmed up.
You get to see me up on Mile at Timberline. There's a kid I just sent to college. So I just wanted to say that I've lived in Newburgh for 15 years. My parents have a vineyard and winery here and have had one for 35 years. My parents, Cliff and Allison Anderson, wanted to say hello to Alan. But what we hear from tourists in the wine industry is they want trails. They are asking all the time, where do we go to hike tomorrow? And we have to send them kind of far away. Above that, also, I love the trails. I live in the Greens and I run Getman 3 to 4 times a week. Q, I love your signs. The one at the bottom of the hill always throws me off. I think someone's standing there and I come around the corner, it's a sign. I'm an attorney in my private life. Don't ask me any legal questions. It's been a long time since I thought about these kind of issues. I have a master's degree as well in environmental law. And I also have a lot of experience with the Banks Vernonia Trail, which is amazing, and go to Shampooey all the time. So thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Erin.
Can I make a point?
Sure.
It seems like this group needs to have some guidance from the board. What are the priorities? I mean, I've heard you talk about the trail underneath the bypass. I've heard talk about getting involved with the West Sider Trail. it seems like the board has to deliver a group like this priorities. We have 2 priorities and we want 2 groups to address.
Yeah, I believe, and I'm sorry we don't have that for you tonight, but you will be getting some direction from the board. However, you'll have some independence as a group to bring forward ideas of your own, but we do have a master plan for the Chehalem Heritage Trails. And we will be sharing that with the group. And we have specific projects that we're working on, including the bypass trail. And there's some discussion amongst the board about potentially working with the county to support the Yamhilis West Sider Trail. But that's, you know, we've recently done a poll with the Friends of Yamhilis West Sider Trail that came back with some very positive results from the community, with community support for that trail. But it would take board action and you know, the board voting to support that project, and that would involve figuring out how to fund it and finance it and maintain it going forward. We have the bypass trail that we've received funding for the first phase of that. So that is a project that we'll be working on. We have previously had discussions with the city of Newburgh. One of the trails that they are interested in doing is, and working with Chehalem Park and Rec Department, is from Hoover Park out to the wastewater treatment plant along Hess Creek. We've also had some discussions that kind of dead ended about connecting the Ewing Young Trail to Dayton Avenue. It's a pretty short area connection that goes by the one of the pumping stations for Newburgh. I believe it's wastewater.
Could I make a suggestion, Bart, instead of running through all these things, kind of, could you send all of us links to the properties that we do have and the trails that we do have on our website?
Let's start here. Right now, let's bring up a different screen. This is on our website.
This is Kat Ricker speaking, by the way. She's our information director.
Thank you. So on our website, under Parks, Trails, and Golf, Chehalem Heritage Trails landing page has broken out sections of trails, which you could easily use these as your subcommittee topics, and each subcommittee focus in on one of these trail segments. The Chehalem Glen Golf Course trails, those are not completely finished. There are more in the master plan, so there's more to be done there. New trails, Shad Park Loop Trail, the Central Newburgh urban trails are the ones that are more sidewalks but are signed in the middle of town. Dundee trails will be similar to that. Most of those have yet to be signed. Bob and Crystal Riley Park will be a rather large project. Those will be multi-use trails, and all of those recommendations to the board are going to hinge on the master plan for Bob and Crystal Riley Park, which that process has yet to be begun. So that would be a significant visioning process for that one.
To interrupt, Kat, there is also a group that Don Loving is a liaison to, but there's also a group similar to this that's already working on the plan for Bob and Crystal Riley Park that includes mountain bikers and equestrians and regular hiking people, as well as adjacent property owners. So
that task force, that's correct, has actually concluded and submitted their recommendations to the board, and their minutes are all on here as well. But there is still lots of trails visioning work to be done there. So it would just complement the work that they have been doing. Ewing Young Park trails are original trails that we've cut ourselves, but there is a phase 2 to come. Right now we have an RFP open for creating a bridge across Chehalem Creek there, which will expand trails onto the other side of the creek. So those will be new. So that would be one way that you could go at it, is to take all of those and one other subcommittee topic that you might consider forming as one dedicated specifically to spearheading the volunteer group, Friends of Chehalem Heritage Trails, which will gather and lead volunteers from the public for on-the-ground maintenance of trails. I'm done.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I see three areas: financing, the visioning of what trails and priorities, and then, you know, volunteer groups that we could work with. That's kind of, you know, none of this is going to happen unless some grants come along or some things like that. And there's the visioning portion of it, where we would like to see trails go, the rationale for that, and then you know, we're going to definitely need a volunteer organizations to help us maintain them. And so those three areas are probably key. I don't know how exactly you attack that. Do you have three committees, or do you have, you know, who has expertise in going out and getting grants? Well, Quentin, I know you're pretty good at it. I'm decent.
I've done grant writing before.
Who's
Aaron Chen.
yeah, Aaron?
Yeah, so I think what I would,
You know, I don't know. Go ahead, Bart, sorry.
I think what I would like to start with, and thanks for your input, Pete, I appreciate that. I think what I'd like to start with is finding out who you would like, because it's not going to be, Parks and Rec will be here to advise you, and you know, Jim and I are both relatively busy, but I can promise that one of us will be here for your meetings, but we're going to leave it up to this group to choose the night and time that you want to meet, or I'm assuming it's a night and time. I guess it could be day, although it'd be harder for Jim or myself. But you will also be selecting a member to lead the group, and somebody to take the minutes. And I think I might like to start to see if there are volunteers here, and then we can have an election if we get a couple of people that are interested. But is there somebody that's was willing to self-nominate, or is there somebody here that wants to nominate another member to lead the group? I think that's where we ought to start.
This is Jill, and I guess my question would be, with that group leader, is it mainly just someone to help organize and lead the meetings, keeping things on task, that sort of thing?
Yes.
Okay. So I would be happy to volunteer for that role. And sorry, I'm driving my kids home from soccer, so my screen is off, but I am still listening.
We hear you, Jill. That's fine. And then I want to leave it open if there are other members that would like to self-volunteer, or we don't have to have others, but if somebody else would like to either nominate or volunteer.
This is Lacey Mendoza, and I'd actually like to second Jill.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand, Lacey. What were you saying?
She's seconding.
Oh, okay. All those in favor of having Jill be your new chairman?
Aye.
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 Well, that was easier than I'd hoped. Congratulations, Jill, you're it.
Hey, thanks. Hopefully I can lead as well.
All right. And I'm sure we're going to be getting lots of help from Kat Ricker, helping to manage this whole process, our information director, but it would be appropriate to have somebody from your group that was good at taking minutes to be a secretary that could record the public record, the results of the meeting and the minutes for the meeting.
What? I'm sorry, I didn't get all the names, but the gal that was that is a lawyer or was a lawyer, she seems to be taking notes pretty well. I think I'd volunteer her.
Is that Aaron? Aaron?
Okay. I would be happy to assist with that.
All right.
Okay, for the record, who made that nomination?
Christina, I think.
Christina.
Thank you,
Okay.
Christina. Are there any other nominations or volunteers? Or would somebody like the second?
I'll second.
All right. Since there are no other, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Wow, very good. It looks like we have a leader and a secretary.
All
Thank
right.
you. So now I guess,
Meeting time.
yeah, that's thank you, Pete. I think what we need, it's probably best to have like a regular meeting time instead of trying to, every time you get together, try and pick what this is. I know Park and Rec meets the fourth Thursday of every month, so that's out. But, and, you know, this time, 5:36 seems to be a reasonable time, but I will also leave that up to the group to maybe, I know this is gonna get hectic because you all have your own schedules and if
We do like Wednesday or Thursday in the evening after 5:30 or at 5:30.
And I know Dundee Parks typically meets on the first Wednesday of the month. So I would not be available on that night, but what about the second Wednesday of the month?
Sounds good to me.
this can't be this easy, right? Second Wednesday, does that not work for everybody? Is there,
Works for me.
oh man,
It'll work.
So this is Lacey Mendoza, and it doesn't work for me unless it's at 6 o'clock.
And I would say later would be better for me. 5:30 is a little bit tight.
it is for me too, so.
With work, so
Okay, let's go with 6 then.
yeah, 6 or
6
6:30
o'clock.
would be better.
6 o'clock second Wednesday, is there anybody in opposition to that? And, you know, right now, I think once a month seems appropriate. There may be a time when stuff starts happening and we may want to have supplemental meetings, but I think for now, 6 o'clock second Wednesday of every month sounds like, probably not gonna do the second week in September since, when is that? Oh, this is the second Wednesday.
It is.
Okay. So, all those in favor of the second week, or I'm sorry, second week in September, 6 p.m.?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
I didn't do the math, but I'm pretty sure that counts. So, 6 o'clock second Wednesday.
Now, subcommittees could work on their own in between and just convene and report to each other at that meeting as well.
Yeah. So, as Kat mentioned, that will be the main meeting, and I expect that will happen every month. And I believe that the subcommittees would meet at separate times, so it's probably time for discussion on the subcommittees. And Pete had brought up, and I'm sorry I didn't keep track of those, but fundraising, volunteer, and what else was it, Pete?
Visioning and priorities for working on particular trails, rationales that went with it.
I have a question about subcommittees.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is this
please.
last chance to form subcommittees, or can we?
No,
maybe
yeah, this is.
email each other and propose subcommittees down the line.
I think that's a great idea because there's, you know, so potential ideas are the individual trails that we talked about and that you see on our website, as well as working with the city on that Hess Creek Trail, working with the Friends of Yem Hillis West Sider Trail, although we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves on that since the board may choose not to support that. There's the fundraising and volunteer, and Kat Ricker had also mentioned the volunteers of the trail. Maybe, I don't know if we need to discuss at this meeting, or if you can all email Kat Ricker. She's the one that's been emailing you with a subcommittee that you would like to be a part of, and then we can. How does that sound, Kat?
I think we should have them open it up more to a floor discussion, trying to nail down and see if we can you know, I don't, if we do email, we may come up with 17 different subcommittees. Let's at least see if we can hone it down to a manageable number here. Perhaps we can come up with the topics right now.
Can we do it next time around and try to figure out, or have, so we can look at the website and figure out what's going on, and then we can figure out how we want to divide it up.
And just,
Yeah, I would say.
Can I jump in here a second after that comment?
Bring it on, Jim.
Anyway, yeah, so, you know, I think that it would be important for everyone to become familiar with what the park district already has. And that's, and you may not have looked at that, whether it's a trail at Crabtree Park, whether it's Shad Park, whether it's several of our other parks. I think it would be good for you to become familiar with it if you're not already. And then you'll be able to know what we have in our inventory as a park district. And then I think that it would be important for everyone to look at what they're interested in doing. You know, I know that Alan and Aaron both talked about, I know Alan's been involved and we've talked with them before. We've even gone through maps on some wine country trails. And Aaron, you said you might be interested in that also. And those are, so you might want to look at, do we want to create, you know, a trail for biking similar to what we're trying to do along the bypass, similar to what they might have in some of the other towns, whether it be Spokane's trail or those type of trails. I think that you should start thinking about what you're interested in doing, whether it be equestrian or whatever, and go through that and decide, you know, this is the area that I want to get into. This is an area I'd like to focus on, and so on. I think that you need to look at that in the big picture first before you come back. That's just my opinion as a board member, because knowing what our inventory is and then coming off of that inventory and adding to it, I think it's important.
Yeah, so I would suggest that
I agree.
that Jim, that you and myself and Pete email Kat with a list of potential subcommittees that we would like to see. If anybody has something they're afraid that we might miss, like for example, you want to do equestrian trails somewhere other than Parrot Mountain. I'm not suggesting that's one, but if you had something that we missed here, let's create a list, and then Kat can, when she sends out the list of potential committee assignments, we have that link on our webpage, but we can also have on that list some of the trails that aren't on our page, and then attached to that, we can email out our. I'm sorry, what?
So I think that makes for good homework in between the meetings, that if everybody has a chance to review the CPRD website, all of the trails and things that we currently have, and then you guys make up your wish list. And then if we have that information going into the next meeting, that can be our top priority, is setting up those subcommittees and assigning people to them.
Quentin Comas, what do you got for us?
Sorry, I'm using the polite raising the hand on Zoom. I was just wondering if we could have Kat's input on whether, to go with committees that are more based off of topic, like Pete mentioned, that could be mobilized even before we have specific trails. I think you could start gathering a volunteer base before you know what trails you're going to focus on, or should we look at breaking it up and having subcommittee members serve on several subcommittees that are specific to parks or trail systems? I'm not sure if there's like other cities or park and rec districts that have been the same, or if there's a better way to break it out by topic rather than park.
Thank you, Quentin. So what I have just captured from our discussion so far are three possible approaches that you could take. You could take one that is more conceptual by focus, which so far you've mentioned visioning, financing, and grants. Volunteer maintenance group would be a second. And then the third one to break down the trails by location, park, or user type. So those are kind of your three big tiers. So again, your conceptuals, visioning, financing, and grants. Your trails by location, park, or user type, and then the volunteer maintenance group. Does that help?
Yes, it does. I mean, I guess in your opinion, would any of those options be the most efficient in our time and our providing input to the board as opposed to another?
The volunteer maintenance group is definitely something that's a priority. It would be a great priority help to CPRD to have that be a focus, with the idea that it probably would not hit the ground until spring once it dried, once the rain stopped. Other than that, the board is always looking at financing. Grants are always a top priority, and those things can take longer. So that those could start now, but have longer to actually see fruition. In the meantime, user type, location, and parks could be split according to the master plans in order of which are coming down the pike. And Bob and Crystal Riley Park would certainly rise to the top on that one.
So,
And when you say user type, you mean the mode of trail, whether it's a biking, hiking, paddling.
correct.
That's correct, the modality. I'm going to put this up on the screen here so that it'll be a little easier perhaps for you to follow. I just emailed that to you. Yes, we have our IT ace, Richard Cornwell, putting that up on our screen. And those are the 3 tiers.
Personally, I would say possibly looking at something close to what Pete suggested, just so that we all have an opportunity to put our expertise to all the trails. I see benefits of the different tiered systems, but I feel like, putting grant people on all of the projects that require grants instead of putting folks into park specific committees, and still allowing us to go and research on our own the parks. And I know we talked about the website, but there's also a really phenomenal brochure that lists all of them also, if you're looking for a visual aid. But I think, having that split up by topic, we can have folks who may have experience with actually building trails, focus on the envisioning, or folks that have experience with recruitment or volunteer organizations, focus on collectively as a park and rec district, providing those to all of the parks and trails instead of focusing our assets individually on individual parks. But I appreciate the conversation.
And again, this is not something we're deciding right now, or are we? Which one we want to go into?
Floor is open. You can flesh this out as much as you'd like. And
Well, then if I may, I'll have a comment. So, I think, I have a specific focus on the Chehalem Mountains from Bald Peak to Parrot Mountain. And I know in the master plan, there's a lot of, trails, conceptual trails that go up Bell Road or down Mountaintop Road, for example. But those aren't represented in the subcommittees here. So, for me, I would like to have a Chehalem Mountain subcommittee. And there's a lot of the wineries are in the same area, so we could have some common interest. But if there wasn't interest in that, then I would do something else. So one of the other volunteer things, for example. So I kind of need to know what kind of interest there is in my idea for a subcommittee before I join one of these broader category ones.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason you can't be on more than one subcommittee, but it sounds like the wineries and the Chehalem Mountain Trails qualify as a standalone subcommittee.
Assuming, yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. And this is something that for you guys to decide on, not for the Park and Rec staff to tell you how to do that. So I think that'd be another great one to add to the list, Richard. So wineries and Chehalem Mountain Trails.
Okay.
If I might, we didn't talk about the Sanders property in Dundee, and it will have some trails, although that's not a big part of the total. But I'm a Dundee guy, and I'm interested in Sanders property as well as Dundee properties, Dundee trails in particular. So you might split it up by region.
And Kat, how will that work? Because that's sort of handled
Yeah.
separately with
So
the
the
standard
Parks
master
Committee.
plan.
Yeah, the standard master plan is pretty well established with its trails, and that's already in public process. That's a public hearing is scheduled for September 21st.
Although, Alan, you could certainly go as a liaison for this group to that public meeting.
And truly,
And I would say with that park, there will be obviously the volunteer opportunities down the road once it actually begins development.
Absolutely.
And probably still some fundraising to do, since as far as I know from Dundee Parks Committee, not all of the funding is established for that park
Right.
development yet.
And I'm hoping that Pete will be willing to serve on that volunteer group because he's already been involved with a lot of those in the past, so if you got the time. But I will leave that to the group to decide who wants to do which. So if we don't
So
list
have we
the,
decided that we were going to review the information and and make these decisions at the next meeting? Or is the hope still that we're splitting into subcommittees tonight?
no, I believe that we've got a start on subcommittees tonight, but I think once everybody has a chance to review, you may amongst the group decide you want to be on a specific subcommittee or decide that you'd like to add another subcommittee, and I think we should have the opportunity still to do that and solidify that at the next meeting is, I think, appropriate.
Jill, you are now the chairman. And so you're now in charge of this meeting to bring us to wherever you feel that you should lead us. I would suggest that we all maybe take a step back and meet next month and start making actual decisions about committees, about, there's a lot of, I've been involved for a long time. I know I have a whole bunch of ideas already, but I have a lot of more information than any of the rest of you. And so, as you familiarize yourself with what we have actually established, the idea of maybe regions, something like that, and financing is broken into each one of those parts, and volunteer groups are broken into each region. There's a lot of different ways that you can go. What's going to be the most efficient? And I think we need to all have the same information before a whole bunch of decisions are made.
All right, so Quentin has raised his hand. So
Quentin, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I was just wondering, again, kind of back to the framework here. Are we what's the, obviously I think the goals need to be ironed out, but is there a time frame as to when our recommendations would be heard and then put into action by the board? Is this we want to try and get work done next spring? Because in that case, I would urge, obviously, I think we can do next month, but we will have to start hitting the ground running, especially if we're going to look at grant cycles. Those are very much winter, summer. So, looking at how far in advance are we going to try and take what we do and implement it into the field?
Seems like grants are really valuable, and if anyone wants to be a part of that, I feel like they should get ready, they can start. My opinion.
I'll remind you that your terms are for 3 years.
And then Aaron Chen would like to say something.
Aaron?
So I just have a suggestion. It seems like we really have two different types of subcommittees that we're looking at. We have these kind of overarching umbrella sort of support services, volunteer management, grants. There may have been a few others that I forgot. And then we also have kind of more locational based subcommittees looking at different areas. And what about kind of doing both? And then just everyone pick two, pick a location. I would, be interested in Parks in Dundee, and then also an area of expertise. I have experience in volunteer management. And so the sort of overarching support services lend support to the different regional areas.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
But then you would theoretically, a good idea, I agree, but you'd have like 3 meetings in a month. You'd have your 2 subcommittees plus the board meeting, just to be clear. Yeah.
Although perhaps the subcommittees wouldn't meet monthly, maybe they'd be bi-monthly, depending on the needs and time of year and how old and how new the park is might determine how much need there is for activity in those subcommittees.
And as a group, you may decide to have some subcommittee concurrent with your monthly meeting. This is something for your group to decide. We can sort of give you a structure, but really your group is going to be self-governing.
So from everything that we're talking about, I think we have a lot of great ideas as far as ways that we can organize subcommittees. What I'm going to suggest, and it's already been suggested tonight, is everyone kind of takes this as homework to get familiar with the trails that we currently have, if there are ones in the area that you don't know about. And then when we come to our October meeting, we will actually have the conversation of which concrete subcommittees we want to have and have people volunteer to be in those committees at that point, but coming in with a full breadth of knowledge of what we have and what we want moving forward. So unless there's any further conversation about it tonight, it may be time to move on from the subject, and all of us can go home with the information that we have here and what Kat will share of the existing trails.
Yeah.
Along with that, do you think that you folks would want to send Kat your suggestions, informations, thoughts about this meeting, where we can go from there and then we can disseminate that? Would that work for you, Kat?
Yes, absolutely.
And
I think that would be good.
I would have another piece of homework. It's certainly not mandatory, but I would invite everybody to familiarize yourself as much as you could with the trails. If that means getting out and walking the trails, at least know about the Yamhellis West Sider Trail, and I'm thinking about the Ewing Young Trail specifically, and the Getman Loop, the Shad Park Trail, Viewmont Trail in Dundee. We've got some pretty surprising trails for some of you that may not be aware already. And if you get a chance to go out and walk 1 or 2 of those, that would be fantastic.
And Bart, you want to hold up the pocket trail guide there? We have.
Yeah, here at the office, you're welcome to come in. These are free if you want to pick up a couple for your friends.
They're also down at the Aquatic Center, golf course, and online as a.
All right.
I move that we table the creation and assignment of members to subcommittees.
Second.
Who seconded, please?
Second.
Sorry.
Is there anyone opposed to tabling? Okay. That is approved, and we will follow up on that in October. And Kat, was there anything else on the agenda or things that need to be discussed tonight?
There is not, although I was just thinking, you have the ability to begin communicating through a listserv right now, because you already have all of each other's email addresses in the invitation. I intentionally included all of those visible to all of you. So right now you could do a reply to all, and you could have your discussions going in. So what's the pleasure of the group? Do you want to communicate as a listserv amongst the entire group between now and October? Or did you want to do what you had just agreed upon, and just to send me information and have me kind of create it into something cohesive and have ready for you the next October.
I move a listserv.
I'll second that.
All right.
Okay, so is there anyone that does not have that email or ability to reply all that would need that resent? Okay. And then I would say it might be helpful either, I don't know whether it would be Kat or our new secretary, to maybe just compile all of it into a Word document that would make it easy if anyone has trouble following through multiple chat threads, just to kind of summarize everything before the next meeting so that we can all be on the same page.
Thank you, Jill. You did hit the ground running, and so have I. I've been taking notes this entire time, so I'll be sending that to the listserv first of all, and then I will also be compiling what goes on the listserv to send as a digest.
Fantastic.
Okay. Well, I don't know if there's any further discussion that's needed or if we can end the meeting for tonight.
Just a little housekeeping, since this is public record, be sure and include me, my email, cricker@cprdnewburgh.org, as well as our board liaisons on all of your email listserv communications. And any minutes, notes, or other documents that are submitted within your meetings, subcommittee meetings, be sure to also submit those to me so that I can collect them for the record. And we will begin posting those to the website. You have a web page that I have created as a placeholder, and we will just keep posting those minutes and documents so that the public can check in on the progress of this committee at any time.
Thank you all for coming tonight.
All right, and our next meeting is October 13th. That looks like that's the second Wednesday, October 13th at 6 p.m.
I'd like to personally thank everyone. It's volunteers that help things get done in our community, so it's really appreciated. Thank you so much.
All right, it was great to meet you all. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye.